Hey, welcome back to another Manga Talks episode. Today we've got a pretty exciting one because I have a pretty big shoujo horror manga haul that I wanted to show off today, and it's of two mangaka. One is a returning one to the channel and the other is completely new. This is the first time that I've ever had books from them. So here are the two. We've got Kanda Mori on the left. So this mangaka I've known for quite a while, but I've never been able to find their books. So I picked up, I think it was 3 of their books. Yeah, 3 of the books in the haul. And then the returning mangaka is on the right here. This is Tanima Yumeji. I have shown off this specific book before on its own manga spotlight. So this is Zombies of the 13th Day, a collection of their one-shots. So check that out if you want to see an in-depth overview of this. But for today, we're going to go through, I think it was 5 Tanima Yumeji books. So pretty exciting stuff for me because, as I said before, Kanda Mori, I've never really had any books from them, although I've known about them for quite a while, and I do like their art style a lot. So I'm excited to see what sort of stories they have entail for us. And Tanima Yumeji is one of my favorite shoujo horror mangaka of all time. So finally have been able to pick up a lot more of their books, because this specific one that I showed off before, this is a reprint. So the ones that I was able to get, these are like on the rarer side. So I think what I want to go off of first is, we'll start off with Kanda Mori because we've got only 3 of their books to go through. Will make things a bit easier. So just in terms of some general information about Kanda Mori, let me just quickly bring this up because I did get some notes down. Okay, but first of all, amazing covers. I've always loved their covers. You can also follow them on Instagram. I will put down their socials in the description. So they were born in 1963 and they're most known for this specific story. So this is the Minagoroshi Gakuen story. They currently they have their own digital publishing company to release their own work. So they are still, I believe, creating manga at the moment, but they made manga in Horror M, which was a horror manga magazine that started in 1963 and stopped in 2010. And some of the mangaka featured were people like Ochasuke Nori, Tanima Yumeji, of course. We've got Rensuke Oshikiri, who did Mitsumiso, and High School Girl. High School Girl. Inuki Kaneko was featured as well. Senno Knife was in there too. So their works are all mainly in the 90s. And the mangaka also does music as well. And I think the main thing that I liked about Kanda Mori is, if I flick open and just go through a bit, it's got a kind of like, it's not exactly, but for me, a kind of Heta-uma-esque feel to some of their works. I know it's not exactly that, but I love how all of their character designs are like irregular and kind of flat looking. It makes it look funny, but also at the same time accentuates the horror of the stories. And of course, you can't miss out on the gory stuff that they include. So in total, they've done a lot more manga than this. Obviously, I was only able to find these 3, but because this is a haul, I haven't read any of these, so I will give just a brief synopsis or description of each, because I am excited to eventually get into all these and read them and hopefully make a more in-depth spotlight. So this first one here is called Shoujo Dome, or the Girls Alliance. So this was made in 1996, and this was with Bunkasha Comics. That's the back of it. And so in terms of the general synopsis of this, I'll just do a brief flick through. So there may be spoilers, but I'm not going to be really looking at the screen too much. Just going to do a flick through of a couple pages. So the Girls Alliance seems to be a story about, as the name suggests, an alliance of girls where it's off limit to boys, but there is a sort of secret or something evil hiding behind that alliance. And so when the main character is allowed to join, they find some fucked up stuff. So as you can probably see here, you can see already a lot of the screwed up things happening. I will have to also censor some of these pages, but I love how chaotic the art is, and also how it's not afraid to push that shoujo aesthetic forward. There's just so many things happening in each page, which I love. You've got the very chiseled looking boys as well. Very funny stuff. When I look at Kanda Mori's artwork, it also gives me a sense of, like, with the actual style, the visual style and everything that's going on, it also looks like it's got that own sense of, like, comedy to it too. So that was Girls Alliance. This next one here is called怪奇ミイラ少女, which means mysterious mummy girl. So this one came out in 1995, and this was put out by Lead Publishing. So one thing you'll notice as well is there actually isn't that much. I don't think there's any Hibari comic stuff, because I don't think Kanda Mori put out anything with Hibari or Lemon. Tanima Yumeji, I will have to double check, because Kanda Mori was kind of a later, it was in the 90s, so a later period of horror. So with Mysterious Mummy Girl, what the synopsis of this is that there's this high school girl called Rie that steals a necklace from a mummy at a construction site. So interesting start already. And then at school, another girl named Marie or Mary transfers to her class, and that's all the synopsis says. So I guess there's got to be some connection with the mummy and that necklace. And one thing that I do want to comment on is I love when shoujo horror cover arts are really like colorful. I think Kanda Mori, especially, I think it was at the back here, this is such a cool looking piece of art. I love how much color there is in it, all the different combinations. Amazing. Like, in terms of my favorite shoujo horror manga cover art in general, I would say Kanda Mori is great. You've also got Tanima Yumeji. I also really love this one, which I showed off on a spotlight before. This is the Vampire Moth by Nishi Takero. Love this style as well. But yeah, because there's so many horror works from like Hibari and Lemon back in the day, sometimes they kind of blend together, so it really helps when they are really like colorful like this. But going back to the Mysterious Mummy Girl, I'll do a bit of a extended flip through. I've been seeing a lot of animals everywhere, snakes, slugs, and all that type of stuff. Like this, for example, this panel here, it does look pretty funny at times. So, I actually do need to see. Maybe this was actually a short story collection. Yes, it does look like. Okay, so that means that synopsis is referring to just the titular story, it looks like. So it does seem that this is a short story collection. Let me double check with this as well. I apologize, I don't know the details. This might also be a short story collection too, but yeah. So I don't know the details, but if it's short stories, I wouldn't mind either. I actually do like short stories a lot when it comes to shoujo horror as well. So yeah, more for me. So the third and final Kanda Mori book that I have here, this is called Minagoroshi Gakuen, which translates to something like Massacre School. And the reason why you see the numbers here, 37564, it's just taking the first character from each number, like the pronunciation of it. So Minagoroshi Gakuen. And this is I love this cover, pretty iconic, with the weird stuff happening in the back. And here is the back of it. And this one was also in 1995, also by Bunkasha Comics as well. So what Massacre School is about is we are set in, wow, a very insane first page to start things off. By the way, I have not actually looked at any of these books yet. This is kind of my first time going through it. But this manga seems to be set in an old cursed boarding school. So in that boarding school there is, which we just saw just then, a statue of Christ which is said to bleed tears of blood at midnight. But over the course of the story, it seems like there are brutal murders that's happening, and probably or definitely has something to do with the statue. And I'm also very curious to see what this lady is about, what her origins are. It looks insane, absolutely insane, but that's the type of chaos that I love from horror in general. Also got some SM happening. Wow. Okay, I think I didn't realize how crazy it was. I didn't think that I'd have to censor as much as I probably will have to, but that's Kanda Mori. So very excited for these three manga. Once I do get through them, I will probably bring them back in another Manga Talks episode. But Kanda Mori has been, although like they haven't been on my priority for a while, as soon as I saw these pop up with the Tanima Yumeji books, I had to get them all together. So definitely looking for more, because Kanda Mori has done a lot more books as well. And if you also check out their socials, they also sell their original artwork on one of their stores too. So yeah, check them out. That was Kanda Mori, some amazing shoujo horror, chaotic and gory all at the same time. So now we'll move to the next section of the video, which will be everything else, which is the 5 Tanima Yumeji books. And one thing that I really love as well, just to point out, I've always loved the spines of Hibari, Lemon, Akita Shoten, any other like horror manga releases, because it's so satisfying just sitting on a shelf. So I've just put this all together on my shelf. But yeah, just wanted to point that out. So we'll move across the Kanda Mori and let's go on to one of my favorite shoujo horror manga at the moment, Tanima Yumeji. So far I've only read this book that I showed off before, so we have a lot of new works to get through. But before that, I'm going to go back and also talk about Tanima Yumeji as well. So they were born in 1943 and passed away in 2012, and they actually debuted at 15 years old in the Kashihon market, so the rental manga market. And they did many genres of manga, so shoujo horror is not the only thing they did, because they did other stuff under different pen names. So one of the pen names they went by was Kido Georgie, which they did Kashihon under, and they were also in the Garo newcomer recruitment in 1965. So I got to figure out which issue that is in, because I'm really interested to see what their art looks like outside of shoujo manga, especially in Garo in 1965. And so in terms of other pen names, there was another one they went by the name of Daizunin, which they did erotic works. And so under Tanima Yumeji, this is the pen name that they use for their horror work. So they've done tons and tons of stuff, pretty prolific actually, but I'm mostly I'm not well versed, but I mostly know their horror manga. And so I think the first one which we'll go through, let's just go through, let's see. Well, before I go through it, actually, I do want to talk about why I do love Tanima Yumeji a lot. So the main thing that really drew my attention was that at first glance, its art style is very, very shoujo-esque. And I have my love for shoujo as well. But when you see this type of shoujo art style mixed in with the gore, the level of violence and chaos that Tanima brings into their works, it is like such a perfect contrast that really appeals to me. And in terms of the stories themselves, they are kind of on the standard side of like horror stuff. So you see a lot of mummies, zombies, supernatural things. But I think it's the art and the way that the visuals really elevate everything that makes Tanima Yumeji one of my favorites. And it's a very different style to other horror manga like Ume's Junji Ito as well. It is so like, what's the word? Zeroed in on that shoujo aesthetic. So yeah, that's the main reason why I enjoy their works so much, and that I want to keep collecting all of them. But the first work we'll start with is going to be this one here. So this is Sannen Sigumi Noroi no Kokuban, which translates to something like the third year class C cursed blackboard. So, just to show off the back over here, this was put out in 1988 by Akita Shoten. And I believe some of the other Tanima stuff was also Akita Shoten as well. And so for this one, I've actually seen this for quite a while. Not many of them have popped up in the past, but glad to finally have been able to get this one. But yeah, so let's just go through this story here. So what this story is apparently about, well, first of all, is it okay, so it seems to be one full story, not short stories. But this story seems to be about an evil spirit that appears on the blackboard of that class 3C. So it could be related to a grave that the students apparently excavated the other day, and we are seeing a lot of slugs around, so love that. There was another slug story in the Zombies of the 13th Day reprint, I believe, which I loved, but yeah, seems to be some crazy stuff. Man, I just love the shoujo aesthetic so much, and oh wow, we're getting the gore here, getting all the violence. Okay. Wow, okay, I love that panel, look at that. You know what this reminds me of? So we have a guy here that's just got slugs and snails inside his head and mouth. This panel, weirdly enough, reminds me of that specific Miyanishi Keizo panel where I forgot the name of the story. It's the short story that is about the woman, I think, reminiscing or like in sorrow because of a lost lover. And there's a specific panel with her head kind of being like, it looks like it's filled with like intestines or some weird organs, and it's unraveling. That I've showed it off on the channel before. I just don't remember which short story collection it was, because I would pull it out if I remembered, but that just reminds me of that, funnily enough. So if you've watched my videos with me and Ishi and you remember that, yeah, that's what I'm referring to. And it gets absolutely insane. What I am noticing as well is the artwork in this tankobon is a lot more simpler than the one in the 13th Zombie. Maybe it's because it's just like it was made a lot earlier, but if you see here, the detail in some of the characters and the backgrounds are a lot more full, which is nothing wrong with. I actually love seeing that difference, between maybe an earlier Tanima Yumeji versus a later one that is more experienced in the genre. So yeah, that was really cool. Did not expect to notice that at all, but yeah, that was the third year Class C Cursed Blackboard story. So what I'm planning as well for all of these shoujo reads is I'm not gonna blitz through all of these at once. I'm gonna kind of space it out because I do want to, be able to read Tanima and Kanda Mori for quite a while. So either way, I will be bringing these back semi-frequently through my manga talks every time I do finish one of them. So you will be seeing these again, maybe not like in the short term, but in the long term, we'll see. But yeah, so that was published by Akita Shoten. The next one that we're going to go through is, which one is that? I've got notes for these, so I'm just flicking through the order that I've got them in. Okay, this one here. This is Yū re Gakko Kyofu Nikki, which translates to something like Ghost School Horror Diary. This one was put out in 1995 by Bunkasha as well, which we saw with the Kanda Mori releases. There it is, Tanima Yumeji. And so this one, I love the covers. By the way, same thing applies with what I said before with Kanda Mori in the covers. If you look at Tanima Yumeji's covers, they're so captivating. The color and the faces and everything that's going on, so good. But coming back to Ghost School Horror Diary, here we have, I think, also like one big story as well. Yes, it looks like it is one big story. Could be wrong though, but it's got chapter 1, chapter 2. Okay. All right, so this story, let's see what this is about because I've written it down as well. So I'm just having a look, probably count stories. I was just reading the synopsis and my brain wasn't working, and the synopsis is just in first person. So I might as well just read out the synopsis. So this is most likely from the perspective of this person. So I wonder how many schools there are in Japan. I'm sure there are more than I can even imagine. And there are probably countless scary stories associated with them. Because there are horror stories like this at my school too, due to my father's work, I have to transfer schools several times a year. I'm always filled with hope and anxiety when I go to a new school. However, the one that I transferred to this time had a very gloomy atmosphere. The teacher told me not to get along with anyone and live in a way that makes people dislike me. Why on earth would the teacher do something like this? So this is just a translated synopsis of that story, but seems to be okay. So we're set in another school, but this time starting off with a transfer setting, a transfer student. And okay, we can see a lot of the horrors that are already happening with this. And also it's funny as well how the main characters, protagonists, they look similar. Because it is kind of funny to think of them as like the same person. I don't think they're the same person, but it reminds me of how in Uzumaki by Junji Ito, everything, all the insane stuff that is happening, it's just funny in a dark way that it's all like the same person. Like that main girl, she has to go through all of this and somehow she's like okay mentally, which it's just insane to think about. But yeah, that seems to be this story here. There's more details of the blood and gore that we all love from shoujo horror. And this is a close-up of, I'm not sure what this is. Maybe it's just like a color artwork that was published with the manga. I don't know. So that was the Ghost School Horror Diary. Oh, now that makes sense. Horror Diary. Yeah, that's why I was in first person. Yeah, that was another cool one as well, set in another school. I'm pretty sure most of these are set in schools anyways, but that's fine with that's where all the creepy shit happens in horror stories anyways. So let's move on to the third book. We've got this one here. I love this cover too. This one is called恐怖目の怪. So something like Fearful Eye Monster. This was published in 1993 by Bunkasha as well. Here's the back of it. Oh, I love that so much. Here's a little bit of a profile. This is also in Horror M, which I mentioned before with Kanda Mori. So this here is actually a reprint of a special feature on Tanima Yumeji during Horror M's inaugural issue in 1993 apparently. So it includes stories from Pandora. I'm not sure what Pandora is. Maybe a magazine or another avenue. Not too sure. But let's go through and see this. So definitely we'll be focusing on eyes. It is titled something like The Fearful Eye Monster. Anyways. So it seems starting off with a corpse. But it seems that our main character has issues or develops issues with their eyes over the start of the story. And the doctor that she sees is, a young, kind person. But they see something that they shouldn't have seen. So that's the synopsis of the main titular story, but is also a collection of 6 other one-shots by Tanima Yumeji. Oh, I love that. This is it looks surprisingly wholesome. And also reminds me of another thing from Junji Ito in Uzumaki, that scene where the 2 lovers get entangled forever and ever as like snakes or whatever they were. No, they weren't even snakes. They just their bodies elongated and started twisting around each other. Oh, I love that too. So, yeah, that is the face there. Nice. With some added veins for that. This looks like Frankenstein. It's monster. Or I guess the shading of it looks like it. Damn. So good. It's so good. I can't get enough of Tanima's art style. Look at this. We've got animal heads stitched on limbs. And this skinless guy, I can't wait to get into this. Holy shit. It's so good. Alright, so this is Fearful Eye Monster, the third book that we have for today. So we've got 2 more books coming up. So here we have Hokago no Akuryo, which means something like After School Demons. This was put out in 1986 by Akita Shoten. Here it is. And here is the back of that, Horror Comics as well. Ooh, I should probably check out a list of this. This is a list of some other stuff under the Horror Comics. We've got some Hino Hideshi as well. Umez. Nice. Alright, so this one, let me check. Is this a full story or is this a one short story? Okay, looks like this tankobon is one main story. And so this one, it seems to be the main character and their friends. They summon an earthworm, apparently. Well, an evil earthworm spirit, it says. So they're playing the game Kokuri-san. I think that's the one. It's I don't remember. It's similar to the Ouija board, I believe, but I have to double check. I forgot how Kokuri-san works. But yeah, they summon an evil earthworm spirit somehow. And I guess that starts wreaking havoc in the school. And specifically, it starts possessing people, I think. So if you're not into worms, I guess this might not be for you, but interesting, very interesting premise that an earthworm spirit is possessing people. And okay, that's where we see more of that happening. and insane stuff. Well, now that I think about it, there's a lot of instances of worms, snails, all of those. I don't know what the umbrella term is for like snails and worms, but all those types of like insects and creatures are throughout Tanima's works. But at the same time, you do get a lot of variety. Like we saw in this one, we saw all the animals as well. But that's not a unique thing in horror anyways. You see a lot of that like animal crossovers with humans and all that too. So yeah, that does make sense. It's not like a standout thing. But yeah, that was After School Demons by Tanima, and now we'll move on to the very last book. So this one here is actually a little bit of a bigger size compared to the other book. So different size book. Makes sense because they're all different publishers. This one was published, I think, by what was this published by? Okay, this one was Kodansha. Sorry, I was just looking at my notes. This one was published by Kodansha. Inside of it, here's the back. There we go. Okay, so this one is called悪魔に魅せられて. So, Charmed by the Devil, I believe. Put out in 1998. This one is part of a specific series called the Horror Roman Comic Series. So this is the second book in that, and it's a horror series, I guess, that was put out by Kodansha, featuring a lot of different horror mangaka. So this is number 2. So featuring Tanima Yumeji. You've also got other different works. I'm not sure. I gotta double check what other mangaka were featured in this series, so I will put that in the description below so you can check that out. But this one is looks like a collection of short stories throughout, and so the titular one is about a nightmare scenario where apparently a young girl's life is, it just says it turns into a nightmare of blood and flying flesh. That is interesting. Ooh. That's a great panel. Okay. And yeah, so it seems to be another collection of short stories as well. Always love these like really big double page spreads, the title pages of all the stories too. And so this seems to be a collection of the earlier short stories by Tanima Yumeji. And in the synopsis, I like that synopsis. It says, a collection of early short stories by Tanima Yumeji, a one-of-a-kind horror writer who combines girlishness and cruelty, sure to be a hit with fans. Girlishness and cruelty. Okay, we see, yeah. Oh, not slugs. Leeches this time, I guess. I mean, I haven't really been like looking at these pages in detail, but I don't think I recognize any of the stories in these. Maybe I just haven't been looking too much, but even better. That means, more stories for me to consume. So no overlap so far from just this flick through today with these stories, but I could definitely be wrong because those are 5 books and we only just, briefly went through all of those. But yeah, so that was today's Manga Talks episode on the shoujo horror haul that I had. This came in maybe about a week ago. Yeah, a week or 2 ago, I would say. And so yeah, I'm very happy with this haul. Can't wait to get into these books, and I'm kind of in getting back to my shoujo horror obsession now, because recently I did read Her Frankenstein by Kawashima Norikazu. That was an amazing read. I've had this for quite a while and I haven't touched it for also quite a while, but I'm glad that I read it at a time where I was like getting back into shoujo horror. So this one I highly recommend. I'm not caught up to all of the Living the Line releases because I still need to get Face Meet. In terms of the ones I've read, I've only read Her Frankenstein and UFO Mushroom Invasion by Marina Shirokawa so far. I still have Mansect on my shelves right now by Shinichi Koga. That only I got recently, so I do need to get onto that as well. But yeah, just Her Frankenstein just blew me away. I love how it kind of it focused on, you know, the subjectiveness of reality, how delusions can, I think like the way I would describe it is that Her Frankenstein was a story that really showed me how cool it was, I guess, to feature an unreliable narrator, which is not again, it's not like a uncommon thing, but I was just not expecting it when I went into the book. I had no expectations, did not know anything about the story, but now I'm kind of obsessed with Kawashima Norikazu. I know they have announced another book, so look out for that. But yeah, this just brought me back into the whole realm of shoujo horror, or just horror in general. And it's not like I've ever left, it's just that there's different phases. So yeah, highly recommend Her Frankenstein. And in general with horror, with Hibari and everything as well, it's always an ongoing collecting thing. Just to show some examples of other books that I've shown off on the channel before, we've had this one, Vampire Moth by Nishi Takedo. I've done a spotlight video on that. This one has some really great art, very detailed, and also very old school as well. And quite a long one too, 200 and something pages. Then I've also showed off this Umes one too. This is not Hibari, because this one's Lemon Comics. This one I think is Akita Shoten. This is Kitsune Me no Shoujo, so the Fox-Eyed Girl. If you're looking for some older Umes stuff, I've shown that off too. And same thing with this as well. This is the Cursed Doll by Nakano Yumi. One of the very first horror, or like these old vintage horror Hibari series that I picked up as well. But yeah, always looking to expand my horror collection. I've also got like these compilations as well. This is the Hino Hideshi Best Works series, collecting a lot of his stories into this reprinted format. The printing isn't as great, but it's just nice having all these stories in one book rather than going for the expensive options of like getting all the original tankobon and stuff. Love Hino Hideshi. I was also thinking about this as well in terms of like distinct art styles. Hino, you definitely recognize anywhere that it's Hino. I would even say as well with Tanima, with Kanda Mori, Umes, of course, all of those manga, you can definitely recognize their art style from just a glance. But yeah, Hino is just, for me, the standout for everything. You know, there's no one else that does his like sort of visual, well, there's no one else that draws art like him. You know, when you see his stuff, you know it's him. You know, with the ink that he uses and the character designs, everything like that, it's Hino. So yeah, it's just a thought that I had while I was prepping for this video. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this one. I am very happy with this haul, and I will be showing these off in the future once I do actually get to reading these, because all of these seem extremely chaotic. So yeah, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.